as we return to our tale. To the Grey Women Perseus sped, led by Hermes himself to find the nymphs of the north. Once he arrived in the Twilight Land, where the Grey Women lived, Perseus lay in wait, biding his time as Hermes had told him, until one of the Grey Women popped the eyeball from her head and went to hand it to her sister. It was at this moment he lunged and snatched the eyeball out of their hands. At first, they were confused, as each thought the other had it. But then Perseus spoke up, declaring he would not give back their eye until they told him the way to the nymphs of the north. They shrieked and trembled, terribly fearful at the loss of their one eye. Without pause, they began to speak, to tell him the way so that they might have their eye back. The nymphs were in Hyperborea, that enchanted land beyond the north wind, where all was feasting and dancing. They showed him the hidden road that few had ever traveled, and with the aid of Hermes, he made his way there. In Hyperborea, they threw him a great welcoming banquet, and gave him the gifts he requested: winged sandals to make him fleet of foot, a bag which was always the exact right size to fit whatever was placed into it, and a cap to make him invisible so that he might approach the Gorgons unnoticed. With these gifts in hand, Hermes and Athena came to him, each to present him a gift of their own. Hermes presented him with a sword that would never chip or shatter, to cut through Medusa's scaly hide. Athena offered him a shield of immaculately polished bronze, that he might look into the shield and find his way by the reflection in it, so that he could sneak up on the Gorgons without having to gaze directly on their deadly visages. Hermes then revealed that he knew where the Gorgons lived all along. Yup, he just hadn't told Perseus right away, because he needed him to go to Hyperborea first, rather than racing off straight away to take on the Gorgons. And now that everything was on the table, together they all went to the island where these terrifying creatures lived. Silently, Perseus floated above the ground on his winged sandals and came upon their lair. He found the three of them sleeping, sprawled out with their monstrous wings and golden-scaled skin. Athena and Hermes pointed Medusa out to him, the only one of them that could be slain. Looking in his shield the whole time, he flew silently towards his target. Then, when just above her, he dove. With one fell swoop, he severed her head. And wonder of wonders, from her blood sprang a winged horse named Pegasus and a winged man named Chrysaor. But these wonders did not distract Perseus. Oh no. Still looking only in his shield, he placed the head in the sack, which closed around it. For a moment, he thought himself safe. But at this noise, the other two Gorgon woke. Screaming for vengeance, they searched their island, but couldn't find Perseus because his cap still kept him invisible. So he sped away on wind-borne feet. Quest complete and clear of danger, the gods departed. But there was one more adventure awaiting Perseus. For on his way home, he alighted in the land of Ethiopia. But when he got there, Perseus found the king in great distress. You see, his people were being devoured by a sea monster because his wife boasted that she was prettier than a group of Nereids, and the only way to placate the monster was to feed his daughter Andromeda to it. Stop shaking your head, you all know this is how things worked in those days. But Perseus is feeling pretty good. He's on a hot streak. He's just come off killing a Gorgon. He's still got some magic gear. He's ready to do his thing. So he tells the king, "Hold my beer, your highness. I got this." But when he sees Andromeda bound to a rock to be serpent meat, he decides he wants to marry her. To which the king says, "Okay," without anyone really asking her about it. I digress. So Perseus takes out his god-granted sword and leaps into the air on his winged sandals. When the beast sees his shadow on the water, it thinks it's a drowning man and plunges toward it to consume it. While it's distracted, Perseus plummets towards the creature and with the force of the dive deals the monster a grievous blow. With a few more strokes, it is dead. Andromeda is delivered and they can be set to be married. Only problem was, Andromeda was already betrothed to someone else at the time. And when the former betrothed came up to say, "Hey, wait a minute, uncool," Perseus is all like, "Hey, check out this rad thing I've got in my bag." And then whammo, dude's stone. Only one betrothed now. Problem solved. Thus, with Andromeda, he at last returns home. But all is not well in his homeland. His mother and his foster grandfather are hiding in a temple consistently threatened by the wrath of his granduncle, the local despot, should they leave. For his mother refused the despot's advances. So Perseus proceeds to the hall of his granduncle. Because Perseus has kind of set a precedent on how to deal with these things by now. The doors open, and the despot is gathered with all his friends to meet the vengeful Perseus. But Perseus has a plan. He reaches into his sack of holding and dabs, blammo, despot and crew, all stone. And with that, he proclaims his foster granddad king of the island, gives all the gear back to the gods, and hands Athena the head of the Gorgon, which she carried on her shield from then on. Then, hearing of the prophecy about him killing his dad, and fearing it might mean his foster grandfather, Perseus is all like, "Hold on, let's get real anticlimactic," and goes with Andromeda to a sports competition on the mainland where he throws a discus and hits his real dad, who happened to be in the stands. Fatality. The end. You thought I was kidding about that whole anticlimactic thing, didn't you?